We oppose House Bill 1263. As stated earlier, those that have wear and carry permits have restrictions on them. However, those restrictions on the wear and carry permits are very vague and at the discretion of whoever happens to look at them. Two cases in point. Last year, there was an attorney that was pulled over on the Eastern Shore. He was within his restrictions, at least as he saw fit. Maryland State Police kept him on the side of the road for 3 hours, trying to figure out if he was indeed within his restrictions. After that 3 hours, it was decided that they needed to take him into the station, take possession of his firearm and figure that out. They took him to the state's attorney for the county out there, and who subsequently found that he was outside his restrictions. So in that regard, this would make that individual, who subsequently the charges were dropped, a prohibited person. Second issue would be an individual that was a wear and carry permit holder that had equine narcotics per his permit, was pulled over for speeding on I-270, and again held by Maryland State Police and Montgomery County Police for over 3 hours trying to figure out if he was indeed within his restrictions. They had no clue. They turned that over to the Montgomery County State's Attorney, who charged him with being outside of his restrictions. Went to court. Again, it was found that he was not outside of his restrictions. But why should somebody trying to fight something that nebulous have to concern themselves with this issue? This is, as Mr. Jocelyn said, we understand where the bill is going, but it's starting to get far afield. For those reasons, we would request an unfavorable reporting on this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, Mike Doherty, representing the Maryland State Rifle and Pistol Association. We're also requesting an unfavorable report on House Bill 1263. In addition to the comments that Mr. Jocelyn just made, one of the things that I spent several hours doing last night was looking at the Maryland Sentencing Guidelines Manual version 7.2 that was just issued February of this year. One of the interesting things to note, the mandatory minimum and maximum sentencing, even on the smallest scale. So the first offense, minimum of 1 year up to a maximum of 5 years. As already stated, is federally prohibitive, lifetime prohibition against owning a firearm. However, what I would like to bring up, in the sentencing guidelines, there are 621 crimes listed. 414 of those have maximum sentences between 2 years, which is the minimum prohibition requirement to be federally prohibited from owning a firearm, and 20 years, which is the maximum sentence capable under House Bill 1263. Of interesting notes, when I broke down all of those crimes, 41 2-year crimes, 94 3-year crimes, 7 4-year crimes, 106 5 years, and a bunch up in the 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, and 20. When I looked at the 3-year crimes, are you aware that there are 9 murder charges? Murder in the first degree, 7 instances of murder in the first degree, and 2 instances of murder in the second degree that are only subject to a maximum penalty of 3 years. We're classifying a potential innocent miscarriage of a firearm, especially if we look at the case that Mr. Johnson just presented. Firearm that's jammed that I have to go to a gunsmith to resolve, and that person is subject to a criminal penalty that is stiffer than a penalty we're applying to somebody who committed murder. Personally, and as a representative of the MSRPA, we find that kind of ridiculous, and we'd request an unfavorable report.